Hey guys, welcome to my presentation. Timothy here. Psychoanalysis, or the study of the unconscious realm. Couldn't resist throwing the Sherlock Holmes theme song in here because it's awesome. So, enjoy. So, an overview to start off with. Psychoanalysis was originally kind of founded or invented, if you will, by Sigmund Freud, who was a medical doctor who got his degree from the University of Vienna in 1881. He was born in Austria originally, so he probably had an awesome accent. He became interested in mental disorders, and he kind of made that his area of specialty. He worked with a doctor who specialized in hypnosis, and while working with this guy, he learned some of the techniques and principles that he would later apply to putting together his formulas on psychoanalysis. A little bit about the technique and what psychoanalysis really is. As a whole, it's all about relating the unconscious or the subconscious to the conscious realm. Freud divided the mind into two general areas. The unconscious, of course, being things that we don't really realize but still have influence on our daily life, maybe in our decisions or our personality. The conscious being our speech, our actions, things. It's like our random access memory of a computer. So there are 5 basic principles of psychoanalysis. The first is that besides things that we inherit just from who we are, which Freud thought that we're all basically born totally individual in personality, we are also developed greatly by our childhood and the events in our early childhood. The second principle is that human behavior, experience, and cognition are largely determined by irrational drives, and these drives are largely unconscious. Number 3, attempts to bring those drives into awareness meet psychological resistance in the form of defense mechanisms. 4, conflicts between conscious and unconscious, or repressed material, can result in mental disturbances such as neurosis, neurotic traits, anxiety, depression, etc. So like, what he's saying there is like the ignoring of problems in the unconscious realm, or acting like they don't exist or not addressing them can be the source for these kinds of disorders. That's what Freud's idea is anyways. And the 5th is that the liberation from these unconscious things is achieved through bringing it through to the conscious realm. And so that was his whole purpose of psychoanalysis. Alright, so the practice of psychoanalysis. So patients are usually made to lie on a couch or in some other position of general comfort because the idea is to get them talking, basically. There are several types of interrogation, if you will. The most popular Freudian method is free association, which is basically allowing the patient to simply speak of whatever comes to mind in hopes that the unconscious will make itself clear through often they speak of dreams, fantasies, fears, things that they generally don't address in conversation to other people. So it's bringing the unconscious out into the conscious realm. So the analyst's job is to relate this spew of information and kind of weave a web or an image of what the unconscious, what the state of the patient's unconscious may be through what kind of filters through. That's their job. So some examples of psychoanalysis. You may have heard of ink blot therapy. This is not specifically a Freudian technique, however, it was based on a lot of his work and a lot of his principles, and it is officially considered a tool of psychoanalysis. Basically, I'm sure you've heard of it, patients are given images of ink blots and asked what they see in them, and the idea is that the unconscious will manipulate how the patient sees the image to reflect experiences or things that may be traumatizing them, images, and there's a whole science to this that I'm not really going into, but you get the idea. They're supposed to see what their unconscious may be bothered by. Personally, when I look at these, I see on the far left, I see Wile E. Coyote, the middle, I see Bane from the third Batman, and on the far right, I see something between Darth Vader and Optimus Prime. I can't decide. So if I were to tell that to a therapist, they would probably tell me that I'm a teenage boy who has an unhealthy obsession with old cartoons and action movies, which would be entirely accurate. So you get the gist of it. Psychoanalysis for children. Play therapy is a method devised by Freud's wife, Anna Freud. It's for children, typically pre-adolescents, and it's actually very similar to the principle of free association. The idea is just to let children play or express themselves in some art form, and to see how their unconscious may be manipulating that, and to put it together into, again, an image of what issues their unconscious may be dealing with. That's the whole idea behind it. So it's free association for children. Last but not least, group therapy, another well-known type of psychoanalysis. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's psychoanalysis, but in group settings, so that the idea is in a secure social setting where people can feel related to. They may open up areas of their mind or their unconscious that they normally would keep hidden with defense mechanisms. So the idea of making social interaction and social relation something that opens people up and may make them more aware. Alright, that's it kind of for the info, but I've got a fun fact for you guys. If you've ever heard of a Freudian slip, that's basically where you mean to say something, but you unintentionally say something else because it's what you were thinking about. According to Sigmund Freud, that's your unconscious coming out and overruling your conscious. So, like, for example, I work at a place called Papa Murphy's and I make pizzas. And I was making a pizza the other day, and my friends and I were talking about another type of pizza that we can't stand to make because it's harder. And without thinking about it and without even realizing it, I made that pizza instead of the one I was supposed to make. And I did not realize it till I handed it over to a customer. Yeah, they weren't happy about that. Anyways, example of a Freudian slip. It's where your subconscious makes itself known and overrules your conscious mind. So it can happen in speech or in action, but you'll probably hear that sometime soon, a Freudian slip. If it doesn't happen to you, keep an eye out for it. It'll happen to somebody else. Thanks for watching, guys. Here's my sources, and I will see you all in class.